Alright, fine folks, and welcome to the Great Barrier Reef. Now, the name's kind of uninventive this time, but, I mean, that's quite literally where they're from, so I was like, why not just give them their namesake for where they live? I was thinking of calling it OSHA, but, kinda seemed a little lackluster on my part. So, Great Barrier Reef. Now, this Marincess build I made is primarily meant to filter out Mr. Toad, because Mr. Toad is cool. And also I was trying to find other level 4s to facilitate, and there's actually not a lot of water level 4s I figured out. And even the ones there are, it's like Ragna 0. Ragna Infinity 0, it's rank up. Frozen Ragna 0, it's rank 6, rank up to the rank 5. I'm not playing Ragna 0, if you can tell by now. But let's go in. So, I'm gonna do this a bit differently. Scriptron extender, Silent Sea Nettle extender, Mr. Tenya Spirit, Shathana extender, Marincess Dive extender, and that's pretty much all the extenders besides, I guess, Spring Girl and Sleepy Maiden, but those are Marincess cards, so I gotta actually kind of explain this a little more. I'm running one Crown Tail because it gives me a name to search for in the deck with Blue Tang, and because who doesn't want a free card occasionally? Sleepy Maiden. Free special summon, she has a fat ass defense, and you can sit on field and make opponents sad because they can't target that card with card effects. But mainly for the extender portion. Also, you can banish her from grave to equip, but I mean, I don't really use that because you should be able to get Battle Ocean first turn almost every single turn. You should. Some turns you don't. It's happened to me like twice, but you should be able to get Battle Ocean about every single turn. Blue Tang, your main searcher, how you get most plays off, and the best card in the deck probably. Pascolis, or however the hell you say that fish name. When I was looking online for other deck profiles to look and steal from, I figured out that not a lot of people like playing this card. I like playing it due to two facts. One, it can get this motherfucker out of your hand. Two, it can get this motherfucker out of your hand. And 3 can get this motherfucker out of your hand. Why? Because it can make Bahamut Shark a lot easier. Spring Girl, a free extender that does the same thing as Scriptron, but level 4, and also can mill stuff to the graveyard, which can kind of be good. Like I said, Silent Sea Nettle is a extender, but it has the added benefit of being able to recycle things by banishing itself and sending 3 water monsters in grave back to the deck and or extra deck. So it can recycle your play pieces. So Silent Sea Nettle is actually pretty damn good. But it's sadly OCG right now, but it'd be pretty damn good. Balsami. The card effect Destruction can help. Although you don't have a really consistent way of sending it to the grave because Blue Tang usually wants to go into either Seahorse or Mandarin, but we'll cross that road when we reach it. Marincess Seahorse, the second best card in the deck, due to the fact that it can special summon to any link zone. Only once, so it's not super great, but it's a free special summon instead of using your normal summon, because you need that for like these people right here. Surprisingly, those are the only normal summons in the deck too, which is pretty damn cool. Unless you have a Balsami in your hand. Mandarin. Not sure, but it's Nemo Fish, whichever that one is. It's not the greatest because you need to control 2 or more Marincess monsters, but usually that's not impossible. Usually you can get that done in like 3 summons. But it's kind of more situational, for the simple fact that when you do it, it banishes the monster, and usually you want to keep your you link ones, because those are how you start off the combo. I mean, usually if you have the steam rolling and your opponent can't remove your big bad boss monsters, then you have so much steam that you honestly don't need to go back into these 3 ever again. You should be able to just immediately go into a 2. Because you should have so much recurred resources that you should be able to just immediately be dumping more of these people out. Unless they remove your boss monsters, obviously. But some people run 2 of this. I'm just like, It's easier to run 1 because you don't run the risk of having it in hand, which is kind of good because it's an extender, but it's kind of a bad extender. And I much prefer to have a Silent Sea Nettle in my hand, or a Scriptron, or a Tinny Spirit in my hand, because these are extenders without kind of a cost. But I run 1 because in case I have the Seahorse and the Blue Tang in hand, I have another card to dump besides the Balsami. Now the Cyanite Mining. Did you know fish like machines? Because they're all cyberse, which honestly surprised me, because who watches Brains, am I right? Marincess Dive, a marvelous card that really just needs to not have a Battle Ocean restriction, because I'd love to special summon a Marincess monster out of my deck for free, but usually need Battle Ocean, and usually this is used as an extender to get a Battle Ocean. So you don't really want to, so you can't really use it for the Battle Ocean special summon from deck. So you're going to use it for the special summon from grave, which is kind of bad, but it's a free extender, and it just makes me have 9 extenders plus 2 Scriptrons, which gives me 11, which means I'm forced to have an extender in hand at least once every draw. Now, Battle Ocean, the bread and butter of this deck. Battle Ocean allows monsters like Bubble Reef, Wonder Heart, and Aqua Agronauts to beat over monsters they usually can't. The main problem with this deck is they don't have a lot of removal. This is one of the biggest problems with this deck. This deck can't remove stuff that's already established on field, such as a Dragoon. I have unfortunately faced the Dragoon challenge and ultimately failed. Marincess Wave. Your negate. That targets. Now I'm still kind of tilted after I faced a Dragoon match to deck test this, but this is a targeting negate, which makes me a little sad because it has to target a monster and the Dragoon says you can't target him, so I couldn't negate Dragoon. And it makes me a little sad that the negate spell has a targeting requirement. Not just says, hey, opponent activates effect, negate that effect. No, it's a goddamn trap card that's not a counter trap. But it's pretty damn good because it prevents your monsters from card effect destruction after you use it, which is pretty damn good. Now, the 2 traps that are a little bit questionable in this deck, and I'll say why. Circulation and Bubble Ring. Circulation, honestly, not that bad, because you can use it on your opponent's turn, like, let's say this. You have Aqua Agronauts, you use her effect to negate a spell effect. Your opponent is about to switch into the battle phase. You can use Circulation, switch into Wonder Hearts. Then you can Battle Ocean Wonder Hearts and stack it, so then your opponent hopefully won't be able to beat over it, but that's a big Wonder Heart at that point. Then Bubble Ring. Bubble Ring is a bit problematic due to the fact that your opponent has to attack, and well, they're usually not going to attack your big bad monster, so Bubble Ring I kind of want to remove, but it's not that bad in testing. It's just kind of like, Bubble Ring's not the greatest, I'll say. But it can get you out of a pinch if need be, since it doesn't target monsters, it just straight up negates them, so it does get around the Dragoon, if I were to ever draw it in that match. But it's not bad. Now the extra deck. Extra deck is pretty simple due to the fact you kind of need to run every single Marincess monster ever made for the deck to be competent. Sea Angel searches your spell traps mainly, or searches spells, sorry, I wish it would search traps, good god. But it only searches spells. Absolutely, you're going to be doing the Battle Ocean unless you have it in hand, the dive, but Battle Ocean. Slug gets your cards out of the grave, so usually you go Blue Tang into Slug, Blue Tang send Seahorse, Slug gets Seahorse, activate her effect to Chain Block, which this deck does quite often, and Chain Blocks like crazy, which is pretty damn badass, and I'll show you one that's actually pretty good if you fear your opponent might try to stop a summon. Wonder Heart because you need at least to run one, so then you can go into the big bad boss monsters with Battle Ocean, and Battle Ocean says if you go into a monster using Crystal Hearts, it is immune to opponents' card effects, just straight up unaffected. Splash Mage because it's a free extender if need be using it. I haven't used it too often because mainly Coral Anemone and Splash Mage are the same thing. Splash Mage just is an extra copy that can search any cyberse instead of having a attack restriction, so you can Splash Mage into any of your monsters. Area, the Water Charmer Gentles, kind of like in case water mirror matches, you can steal opponents' water big bad boss monsters. But in testing, doesn't ever come up too often, which is why Star Boy's here, because you can use him as Star Boy if you really want to. Coral Anemone, like I said, like Splash Mage, but it can also draw you a free card from Grave, so pretty good. Marbled Rock, it gets you a free Marincess target in Grave, but the monster that makes this deck slightly more competent, Aqua Agronaut, has the ability to negate spell trap, card, or effect that is activated on the field. But how does it do it? It special summons a Marincess monster that's equipped to it, or Marincess card that's equipped to it, or monster card. Either way, it doesn't actually ever target the spell trap, so meaning it's a non-targeting spell trap negate, which gives you a free Marincess monster, such as if you equip it with a Marbled Rock, you could summon out Marbled Rock, which is not half bad, because then you can use Marbled Rock's effect to protect Aqua Agronaut if you are fear of it being destroyed. It also has another effect saying that once per turn you can target one water monster you control and one card your opponent controls, return them to the hand. So sadly this one targets, but it's still a free removal with the cost of your own monster, but usually you can get your monsters out pretty easily. Wonder Heart, the big beat stick of the whole deck, other than Bubble Reef. But Wonder Heart has the wondrous effects of, you don't care about that card effect because it shouldn't ever die. And if it does, I mean, Marbled Rock. But it's a big beat stick that can't die unless your opponent says Regeki. Bubble Reef. Now, this card I was thinking of running two of instead of the Aqua Agronaut because this card kind of never can be removed ever, because Bubble Reef can get it if it's ever banished. Sea Nettle can just get it if it's ever in the grave, so running two is kind of like, why? But I was running two just in case, because I was like, it could be done in by something dumb, so that's why I was running two of it. But I was like, the deck's consistent enough to pull it out damn near every turn that I was running two just in case I get the Sleepy Maiden and go bop. But honestly, I was thinking of probably eventually running two Bubble Reef due to the fact that Bubble Reef says you can banish one water monster from your graveyard and draw one card. And that's during every standby phase. It's a 2600 monster that gets you a free draw in the standby phase, which the standby phase, there's not many things that can really mess the fuck with you if you're in that phase. And then it has the additional effect that says each time a monster is banished face up, this card gains 600 attack, so it just gains a fat 600, so then it goes to a 34. Actually wrong, 32, I'm stupid as hell. But it goes to a 32. Now there's even less monsters that could beat over a 3200 monster that can't ever go in defense position. Then it has on top of that, on your turn, you can send one water monster from your hand to the grave, special one of your banished Marincess monsters. So let's say you were to have an Aqua Agronaut in grave. You were to banish it on your opponent's standby phase. Bubble Reef hasn't died yet. You can then remove, I don't know, let's say you have like a Seahorse in hand at the time, send Seahorse to grave. Then you could special summon Aqua Agronaut to the field. Now you have two big boss monsters, one that kind of doesn't really have any good effect, but now you have just straight up beat sticks on the field. Then obviously Toad's here for the negate and behind because it's pretty easy to make with the astronomical amount of rank 4 extenders or level 4 extenders I'm planning to get to get him out. And that, fine folks, is more or less the Marincess deck of Great Barrier Reef. Let me let you know a little something. A little something. Skullmeister, Ash Blossom, and Ghost Bell. If you remove all the extenders, that means 3 of this boy, 3 of this boy. If you remove 1 of the Balsamies, remove Crown Tail, that's 3, 6, 7, 8. You could go 3, 3, 2. Then you can run hand traps in this deck. But hand traps are boring, so I'm not doing that.